Dave the Garden Guy's been a staple here on Good Morning Arizona for decades, and he's normally out in our garden, which he designed here at our 3TV studios. But have you ever wondered what his garden looks like? He says think edibles, because everything in his garden works for the table or the yard. Morning, Dave.
Good morning, Jared. In fact, we're in the shadow of Mummy Mountain right here in Paradise Valley. This is my boyhood home. So I've been gardening here for almost 50 years, and it is truly an edible garden, and it is a wildlife garden all at the same time. If you look behind me, there's a lot of mesquite trees, bower vines, and all types of natural foliage back here. Attracts a lot of bird life in and around our garden. And of course, raised beds. One of the staples to gardening out here in the desert Southwest are these raised beds, south-facing the type thermal massing. You see a lot of peppers in here, some nasturtium in here, and of course some capers and all kinds of greens or leafy type edibles that you grow this time of year. And you can see some other things that are growing. And this right over here, right beside kale, is a mission olive. And this is a mission olive tree my father and I planted probably almost 50 years ago. And they are a staple to our garden out here. Why? Because one thing we do with them is we can them. And I got one of my boys here, and he is actually taking up canning. And these are some mission olives. How do you can these guys?
Oh, they're actually really simple. All you got to do is get some salt and vinegar and soak them for about a week. Then you dump them out, soak them again, and every week you just taste test them. A tree olive, one right from the tree, it tastes very bitter and nasty. So once you brine them and cure them, they're ready to eat.
One thing about olive trees is they're very easy to grow out here in the desert Southwest and very drought tolerant all at the same time. So we've got them spaced throughout the house. Some other things that we grow, of course, lots of citrus trees. They are easy to grow. You're looking at an Oro Blanca or a white grapefruit right over there. Some Arizona sweet right there. And you can see, well, our garden is fairly easy to take care of. We mulch with all the tree trimmings and everything else in and around the plant material. Biomass is really critical to gardening out here in desert Southwest. Why? When you look down below our trees, you can see where Kale put a lot of the leaf trimmings and all types of shredded type of bark and everything. And this is really the crucial element. That biomass is the ideal situation for really growing great soil. By growing great soil, you grow great trees, and they're a lot more disease resistant and pest resistant. In fact, Kale, come over here. We can see this. We shred it all up, and everything that comes in there into our garden doesn't go out of our garden. We shred it up, put it right back into the soil, right back on top of the soil, and that way we have a natural type of gardening without having to use synthetic type fertilizers. But it's a great way to go. Last but not least, well, there's a mesquite tree right over here, and you'll see a lot of them out here, but you can see the mesquite trees with the birds up there. Mesquite flower, if you've ever had it, is outstanding, easy to do. We harvest those seeds in the springtime, and we utilize the flower in all kinds of different types of, well, edibles that we like to grow throughout the garden. So if you look around our garden right here, you can see almost everything that we grow in our garden is all edible. And you know what? I said last but not least, I want to just show one more thing. This is some lemongrass, and this is something that Kale grows out here. And this is another one that does very well out here in the desert Southwest, and he propagates right off of it. So when you walk around our garden, everything that we grow, like I said, is very edible, easy to grow. Don't forget, try to go organic as much as possible. We'll be back with more Good Morning Arizona right after this. Hi, I'm Dave Owens, your garden guy. Hey guys, we're at my boyhood home. This is where I grew up, and this is where I live. You can take a look. Shadow of Mummy Mountain. And I will tell you what, it's a little bit tough to grow out here in the desert Southwest, but the one way to grow, raised beds. And we talk about them all the time, and they are the ideal situation for growing out of here. These are all 4 by 8 foot beds. So really there's very little cutting to putting something like this together, but you can get an idea how to do it. But it's metal sides. We went ahead and we had a special type of wood that we utilized, and we make sure that we go as organic as possible when we're actually gardening out here. You can see how well everything's doing. You can see this cabbage. This is a giant cabbage. Take a look at how hydrophobic this is. Kind of gives you an idea how it likes to be watered. In fact, when you look at the leaves actually capture the water and actually pushes it right next to the root system itself. A lot of the plant material that you see really tells you how it likes to be fertilized, how it likes to be watered, and everything else. But there's a lot of things that are going in here, a lot of kale, a lot of Italian parsley, and of course a lot of your leafy greens like your Swiss chard and your leafy type lettuce. Everywhere you look in our garden, everything is pretty much edible. You got lemongrass in here, you got thyme, you got a lot of other different types of herbs, some of your different types of sages. We've got some tomatoes right against that wall. This is the ideal situation for really growing out here. When you're growing, having lots of thermal mass. In fact, if you look at these walls, These walls absorb all that heat during the day, re-releases it at night, and it is a perfect situation for really grown gardens that are protected and able to thrive out here in the desert Southwest. The other thing we use is a lot of different types of potted plants. I want to show these real quickly. You can see all these different types of basils, roses, a lot of your different types of tuberosas. Some of these roses came from Summer Winds Nursery. They are ideal situation for growing and creating color very easily out here. And then later on, well, we go ahead and plant them right in the yard. Right over here, last but not least, I got Kale over here. Kale, real quick, telling me what you're going to be putting in the garden. In fact, I noticed some of your sorrel right here, right?
Yeah, that's a special kind of sorrel. It's beautiful colors here if you want to take a look. There's with the red veins within here. But this is some of the fruits of labor you got here in the garden, is that we got these different kinds of kale, red kale, we have arugula, we have different types of romaine lettuce, and pumpkins, of course. Tons and tons of peppers. You can can them up and eat them. They're fantastic. And then beets, of course.
Yep, there you go. And one thing we do is we bury most of our garbage back into the garden itself, especially those eggshells. So if you're planting those different types of tomatoes and you're not using eggshells, invariably you end up with some type of calcium deficiency, which ends up with blossom end rot. But there you go. Everything in their garden that you can eat, easy to grow, and holds up all year long.